On this week's episode of the BS Show, we dive into the new landscape of Cyberpunk and more. Before we jump in, don't forget to stay connected with us on all socials at the BS Show GG. Love what you're hearing? Show your support by liking this episode, dropping a comment with your thoughts, sharing this episode, and subscribing to keep up with all our future content. Want us to review a game or to answer your questions? Drop your recommendations and questions in our comments. I'm Blake, and with me as always is Steve. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's been having a good week and a good weekend. I have some fantastic news to share with Steve and you guys because of the amount of shit that Steve talks to me about League of Legends. I finally hit gold. Currently, gold 3, 20 LP. Whoop, 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 whoop. I think I remember last week I was telling you I was silver 1, right on the verge of hitting gold, and I had that first time in Teemo in my top lane and decided to get down into it. Been playing my girl Elise. She's the spider champ. You know, she's probably one of my favorite champions next to Zed. Besides League, I am just about done with Expedition 33, and I want to talk about this game so much. Like, how far are you into this game right now, Steve?
I'm actually not that. I'm not that far.
God, how, dude? I can't sit it down.
This week has been really busy for me with work, so I just haven't really had the time to be able to commit to sit down and enjoy a story game like Expedition 33. It's one of those games where it's like you need at least 2 to 3 hours to be able to sit down, and it's just only being able to play for an hour, 45 minutes or whatever, I just feel like it just doesn't do that game justice.
Yeah, that doesn't even give you enough time to really get to the boss, because some of the bosses take you a good, like, oh, fuck, dude, okay, so I just defeated the Paintress. It took me probably about, like, 3 hours to defeat her. Oh, because, cool. Okay, so, like, I don't know, I don't remember where exactly you're at, but some bosses have multiple phases, and it's, like, trying to remember the timing of all the attacks is kind of hard. Especially when you're not really used to these kind of games. So it's like I would defeat the first phase, and then you go into the second phase of the fight, and then it's totally different mechanics. And then there's a third phase of it. So it's like I would defeat phase 1, but then when I got to phase 2, I'd have too low of health. And I'd end up getting, wiped by something because she puts an ability on you that burns you every time you get hit by it. So I'd have like a 3 stack of burns, and I'd end up dying and I'd waste, all my healing shards and revive shards. So it took me a bit to finally get to the second phase without being too low of health to where I could, survive, being hit once or twice without completely, wiping the thing. But man, I am just, that's actually what I kind of wanted to ask you about this game really quick. What are you thinking about it so far? What are your pros and cons of it so far, being only like an hour and 2 hours into it?
I mean, like when I was kind of telling you about this game, like that to play this game, I just kept sending you TikToks of some of the cutscenes. I just think the voice acting is just incredible in this.
Do you like the way the eyes and the facial expressions are? How it feels like you're like watching like an actual like TV show or movie?
Yeah, like I've played a lot of video games, and I've never really played a game where the voice acting all around is just this good. It actually, like you said, it feels like you're watching a movie, it feels like you're watching a TV show. Then you have the soundtrack on top of that, which adds like a whole nother layer to this game. The soundtrack is incredible.
Dude, the soundtrack on some of those boss fights, it's like, I feel like I'm playing like Final Fantasy or something like that. Like, it's so fucking epic.
And the fact that it's only a 30-person team is also insane.
So, like, the reason I wanted to ask you about this game so much is because you always tell me don't skip bosses, don't skip this. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a lot when you're going through the zones, you can skip a lot of the content. You can skip a lot of the, the sub bosses. You don't have to necessarily fight every, NPC or some of that in there, and you can kind of like just run through to the end of it. Do you think that they should have required you to have to go and defeat all the extra little bosses that are in each zone?
No, because games always have that. Games always have extra things that you can do to try and 100% the games. I think anytime developers try and lock you out of being able to complete the game by forcing you to do every single little thing is kind of dumb. Like, I think there should always be a main story, and games that do it well should always have like all this extra content that you can access, and you could do different things to to still be able to enjoy the game. That
I guess
maybe
it's kind of
adds a
similar
little
like
bit
Split Fiction,
towards-
right? Where they had like the
I mean,
side
just like
things.
every game has like little side missions. Like if you think of Grand Theft Auto, it
I
has,
don't
like,
I don't play games like this a lot, so you gotta remember, you gotta talk to me like I'm an idiot and I don't know anything about these games.
But you have a game like you've never played Grand Theft Auto.
I've played Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
Yeah, you have like all sorts of stuff like that. Like you have side missions that you could do. You could go around and you could play golf. You could play all the mini games. Like there's certain games like I think the Yakuza Like a Dragon games are perfect examples where it's like sometimes the mini games are almost like a lot more fun than the main game.
See, I was really nervous though about Expedition 33. Like I said, when I got to the Paintress, because like I was reading up on it, and people are like, what level should I be? And people are like, like 50 or 60, and I'm only like level like 38, 39 on all my characters in there. And like what I've done a lot is I've stacked up just like might and the health to make them really strong and have a lot of health because I'm garbage at dodging things. And I was really, dude, I'm telling you, I was like really worried that like I was going to be under leveled when I got to the Paintress. And luckily, like what I like about this game is there's not like with these bosses, there's not like a like an enraged timer. So like it's kind of like Elden Ring in the sense that you could be completely naked and still defeat the bosses as long as you know the mechanics. And like I love that about this game.
Yeah.
But besides, sorry, you finished. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, especially if you're pretty competent at parrying, I just think parrying is like super super overpowered in this game.
Well, okay. What it also too depends. I don't know what difficulty you're on, but the first time I fought Renoir outside the manor, I was on I think like the second difficulty. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna lower the difficulty to the easiest one, focus on the story, defeating it, and then I'm gonna go back. Put it on a harder level and then actually, go through and defeat all like the sub bosses and stuff like that. Because man, like I'm telling you, dude, like I was like trying to explain this game to Megan, and I've never been like this passionate about a game. Like, dude, it's just so. I wish I could just ruin everything and tell you everything that I know so far because it's so freaking good, dude. And it's like you don't. I know you already ruined it for yourself and looked up like everything, but I guarantee you, there's things in here that you don't even know. That you or do you know everything?
I read like the whole Reddit.
Oh my god! Okay, so spoiler alert: if you don't want to hear about this, skip forward about 2 minutes from now. So that Mel is actually like the painted version of Verso's sister, right? That's the girl that the burnt face. Oh, I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
Alice.
Alice. Yeah, that's her. That's what she looks like in the painted world, and the whole purpose of being in here is to bring the father and the mother out of it, because when you get past the Paintress, you start seeing like the mother and father are so sucked into the painting, and that's when you find out that Mael, she's a Paintress too, and then her hair turns gray. And the whole thing is like the reason why her hair isn't like that in the beginning is because she doesn't realize who she is yet until all this stuff happens. Then she realizes what happens. And then like Luna and I think her name's Sile, they get pissed at Verso. They're like, you fucking knew this all along and you didn't try to stop it. And he's like, what would you have done if this was your family? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And like, again, I haven't finished it completely yet, but I'm on my way to go defeat Renoir. I think you got to defeat him 3 times. And then I think as soon as I get to him, that's when you decide, who you fight him as, if it's Mael and, you get to keep everybody in there, or if you do it as Verso. And pretty much everybody's gone because they're actually like I said, all the characters in here, they're fictional. It's a painting. They're painting the story. Dude, it is so fucking good. Okay, besides that, been playing Elden Ring Night Rain. I'm not gonna lie, I only probably got about half hour to an hour in that. I was very kind of confused on what to do. Like when I hopped into it, it was I queued solo. It brought in 2 other players with me, and we kind of ran around. There's really no directions on the map. Like you choose what main boss you want to fight, and I think you're supposed to go to like a bunch of different little like small bosses before you get to the final one. And it kind of felt like we were just running around trying to figure out how to find that boss. But
Yeah, from what I understand, like I haven't had a chance to play it, but like from what I kind of understand is it's basically during the day you're just leveling and you're getting gear, or you don't have gear, and then at night it's the boss fight, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So I think it's because I remember seeing the zone shrinking in, but I don't remember it being night. I remember I seeing the zone shrink in, and we had to defeat the boss with a certain amount of time. But like, I didn't understand. Like, so you pick your character before you like paraglide in, whatever, parachute in, not parachute,
Yeah.
but you know, and it's like you're going around, you're killing all those things, you're picking up what is it called? Not R. It's not called RP, is it? That you use to level your character. Anyways, you have to go and defeat a bunch of random mobs and stuff like that, and that's how you get your gear and stuff like that. And I really didn't know what to expect with the game when I bought it. I thought it was going to be like kind of like the original Elden Ring, where like you get to really kind of like customize your character and like the gear look cool on certain people. And it took me a minute to figure out how to even be able to change my character before I went in. So you actually, when you get done with the tutorial, you're in like that main castle area. You got like your round table and shit like that, and then there's like a it looks like a coat rack that you have to go to, and that's where you select which class you want to play before you go in. But yeah, I mean it's not bad. I didn't know. I guess I didn't know what to expect. Definitely a game I don't think that you should play solo. You can. I think this is something that, you know, me, you, and somebody else would have fun if we had a 3-person going into it. I know you sent me a thing on TikTok that the guy that did the multiplayer mod in the original Elden Ring already came out with a mod for this one to be able to do it in duos, because 2 people, I didn't understand not being able to do it with 2 people. But anyways, enough about me, man. What have you been up to this week?
Yeah, like I said, this week just been pretty busy with work. No, you kind of, I guess you would expect like a short work week would be less work, but it actually ended up being a lot more work. Yeah, it kind of, so towards the end of the month we always have to work on closing the previous month, and then kind of prepping budget for next month in my line of work. So it's the end of the month is always kind of busy, and then not having that extra work day on Monday kind of added a bunch of extra work. So
try squeezing it all in 4 days.
Yeah. So it was a bit tough to try and get some video gaming in. I played a lot of little random games. I loaded up a bunch of some simulator games I like to play. Like that's why I love those simulator games. It's because it's so easy to just jump in, blow like an hour, 2 hours playing it, and then turn it off, and then come back later if you want, like 2-3 months down the road, and you don't necessarily have to know exactly where you are. You can kind of just pick things back up wherever you left off. And been playing a lot of those. Been playing like Power Washing Simulator. I sent you that leaf blowing one. That one was pretty fun.
Yeah, you actually got it. It was free, wasn't
it? The demo was free if you want to play a demo, but the actual game was like $13. I'm playing a Factory Outlet Simulator. That's been a good little time waster for me. And I loaded up a little bit Stardew Valley. Played Stardew Valley for a little bit, and that was pretty fun.
Are you planning on finishing Expedition 33 anytime soon?
I do want to finish it. It's just I need to find the time to play it. Like
next Friday when you get off work, dude, just sit down for like you can get a lot done in like a 4 or 5 hour block. You could probably get to like 2-3 zones done.
Yeah, I'm in like the lava zone. So I finished the water zone. And I think the next zone is the fire zone, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
So you haven't gone to like the Tiki guy yet? I can't remember what the hell his name is. Morocco or something like that?
No, the paintbrush dude?
No, he's not a paintbrush. He's like a fucking, like a monkey with like a wooden mask.
Oh, no.
You find out he had gone on expeditions prior with Verso. But you defeat him and he joins your crew.
Okay.
So not there. I think it's at like a train station or something like that. Anyway. So yeah, man. So let's cut through the BS. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. We got the two questions here. If you could mash 2 games or genres together into your dream hybrid game, what would it be?
So I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like I'm trying to think of this from a different perspective of like something that hasn't been done. But for me personally, my perfect mashup would be some sort of like open world sandbox type of game mixed with RPG elements, and that already exists with Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk is like the perfect mashup of two completely different genres, because you have that sandboxy criminal-ish like looter driver type of game that you get from Grand Theft Auto. But then you also get the RPG elements where you have like, oh, you get to build your character, you get to build your class based on what talents you picked, can change the way you interact with whether it's hacking or giving you all these different little abilities, combat changes. Like that for me would, like, I think that's like the perfect mashup of games. But it's also kind of thinking like, did I want, I guess thinking through it, it's like, did I want to look at something different as well? And that's kind of where I thought like maybe some sort of like simulator type of game mixed with like a Souls like boss fight type of thing.
That'd be hard to do.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Like, say you're running like a store, and then at night you get attacked, and you have to stop people from stealing your stuff.
Prevent people from robbing your stores. You gotta hide down there and fucking kill people as they try to rob you.
Yeah, and then during the day you have to make sales. You have to upgrade your store. You have to do all that stuff. Just imagine like the level of stress that you would get from like a fast food simulator when you're like on day 13, and then all of a sudden at night you got to get ready for a boss fight.
It's 9 p.m. and all of a sudden people trying to come in to rob everything that you've made for the day.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like straight sweat and nonstop. Like a mix of like that's one of like the beauty of like simulator games. It's like they're very chill, but like you can definitely get to a point where it's like it's probably as stressful as like trying to fight some like high-end boss.
Do you not remember us playing Fast Food Simulator when we opened up the fucking drive-thru?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
I just started accepting like 30 orders, bro, and Ryan was getting so backed up with fucking things to make. Yeah, that was stressful, bro. That was more stressful than this fucking game I'm playing right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like adding like that, and then on top of that, you also have to fight some bosses or fight something. I think that would be pretty cool. Or even add like a whole nother element where it's like it lets you do like all the little extra things, kind of like you do with like Schedule 1, but like make it a little bit more realistic. Like imagine Grand Theft Auto, but you have to go to work.
Yeah,
when you're done doing your criminal stuff,
you gotta go make drugs and sell them to people just to get money instead of just being able to like rob gas stations and shit like that.
Or you have to like clock into your 9 to 5 at McDonald's or something.
No, hell no, dude. See, this one for me, it's a hard question because like you're gonna laugh. I feel like it's already been done. Like I'd like to see like Halo, like a shooter and RPG, but that's pretty much. Oh my god, what is that game, dude? Oh my god, you talk about it all the time. It's like a shooter. Oh my god, like an RPG / shooter combined.
Are you talking about like Remnant?
No. Kind of? Oh my god, dude. What is like Destiny? There we go. I had a brain fart. Like I would like to like think about like going into Halo, but like being Master Chief and it being more ARPG, like where you level him up and shit like that. I think that would be cool. But I've never played Destiny. I think it's kind of like that. Don't you like level up guns or anything like that?
Kind of. It's more so like you're finding materials to make weapons.
Okay, so maybe it hasn't been done. I was like, wow, this sounds like maybe something's been done. I guess it's.
I mean, you have game. Yeah. That's basically what Remnant is, where it's like you level up, you have talents, you level up your weapons by buying mods and buying all that stuff, and
in the Halo landscape, playing as Master Chief. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
It's such a shitty.
No, it's not, dude. No, yeah, I'm gonna end you on that and go to the next question because I'm not gonna let you sit here and slander Master Chief like that. What's a game that completely changed the way that you look at storytelling in games?
For me, it's Uncharted 2. Like I said, that's the first game that I ever played where I felt like, holy crap, I'm watching a movie.
Isn't that like your favorite game of all time too?
I love the Uncharted series. I think the Uncharted series is my favorite in general, like out of anything. I just think the story was so captivating. Like everything was so good. It was one of the first games where it's like I grew like really, really attached to the characters, and I really, really enjoyed every single aspect of the game. The gameplay itself was fun. The story was fun. It was funny. It was sad, but like that to me was like perfection. It's everything that I want in a video game, and I just think it portrays story video games in such a good light. And I mean, there's plenty of other games that have done great too. It's just I don't know. For me, the first one and the most impactful for me was Uncharted 2.
How do you feel knowing that I've never played Uncharted?
I mean, I definitely think you should, especially after you've already kind of dipping your toe into a game like Expedition 33, where the story is such an integral part of the gameplay itself, and it basically takes a game that's already fun to like a whole nother level because of how good the story is. I definitely think you should. I think everyone should.
Well, where can I find it at? I didn't see it on Steam. Is that Uncharted Waters?
No, it's
it's not it, is it? Well, if you find it, send it to me and I'll get it. Because I see here it's Uncharted Legacy of Thieves.
I think that's all 4 of them plus
they got Uncharted Waters, Uncharted Ocean, which that I definitely don't think that's it. Uncharted Tides. Yeah, I don't even see an Uncharted.
Oh, so this is just Uncharted 4 and the
Legacy of Thieves.
Which I think is still fine. Like Uncharted 4 is really, really good. I think a lot of people arguably think Uncharted 4 is the best Uncharted, but I also think a lot of that kind of has to do with the fact that it's the newer game, and it was just a lot more polished. I think Uncharted 2, it was a great game for when it came out, but like if you go back and try to play like a PS2, PS3 game, like obviously there's going to be some jankiness to it that you're just not used to with games nowadays. But again, the story I think holds up 100%. But Uncharted 4 is a great game to kind of dive into.
I'll try to find Uncharted and give it a go. For me now, a game that's completely changed the way that I look at storytelling. I'm going to be completely honest, dude. Expedition 33. This game has been so good. I'm not gonna lie. Like I skipped the cutscenes, like the first like 5-10 minutes, but then I was like, you're like, dude, you need to be watching the cutscenes. It's like a movie. And then I started watching it, and like the more I watched the cutscenes, the more I felt for the characters, the more I felt connected to them, dude. It's just, oh my god, dude, the storytelling's so fucking good, dude.
Like the scene where Gustav is talking to crap, I'm blanking on her name, the Asian girl, the witch.
Not Luna, is it?
Yeah, Luna. And he's basically saying how they need to go find Male, and he's scared of everyone dying. He's like, I don't want her to die. It's like all I care about is trying to save my friends. And she's like getting at him, but it's like, well, people are gonna die. Like that's part of the mission. It's for those who come after, and not like when I forget exactly what happened. Like that scene itself, like that was like one of the best scenes I remember watching like 10 different TikToks of it before I even got to that scene, and just like it was like, again, beautiful. It was like beautifully done. I think Charlie Cox is such a good actor too. Like I love him in Daredevil, so it's seeing a high level, well known actor like that kind of jump into this game. I think is pretty incredible.
What's funny is I started watching the cutscenes right after they took off, right? Because you're like at the pier or whatever it is, and then you take off and start on your expedition. That's when I started watching all the cutscenes. So I guess I missed like all the best parts in the beginning. Because that was like you said, that was like the best one.
Well, because you actually like you didn't miss a whole lot. I think you missed like you should definitely go back and rewatch that initial cutscene when Gustav is like, because you get a really good glimpse into Gustav and how everyone is feeling about basically everyone dying by the paintress, and that scene where he sees his girlfriend just like turn into dust is pretty incredible too.
Oh, the second go, I'll watch the cutscenes up until I depart, and then after that I'm skipping fucking everything since I already watched them. So all right, now we can cut through the BS and get into these news segments. Okay, so I think everybody knows there's going to be a Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. That was discussed back in 2022 that they'd be working on it. That's been referred to as Project Orion. Now, Mike Pondsmith has been discussing the sequel of Cyberpunk 2077 and says it'll feature a second city that feels like Chicago gone wrong, and you don't need to worry. There's still going to be Night City and stuff like that, but like I said, alongside of it's going to be a city just like Chicago gone wrong. And I'm kind of curious how they're going to really introduce that into this new Cyberpunk game. Steve, you're a huge Cyberpunk guy. How do you feel about the introduction of like another big major city like that? Especially being from the Chicagoland area. How do you feel like having that like being introduced into it?
I think it's fine because so Chicago is already kind of a thing within the Cyberpunk universe. I guess the good thing to know, it's like for people that aren't too far like or like too like know too much about the Cyberpunk universe. It's a like tabletop game first and foremost. Like it started off as a tabletop game. It's very similar to like D&D, so it already has a bunch of lore kind of tied behind it. So now it's like I think it's a pretty good thing for them to be able to go into the tabletop aspect of the game and like pick up some lore from that. But I guess Chicago is like there was a bunch of like I just watched something on this, and I guess there was like a cyber war or something like that kind of tore the city apart, and it's riddled with gangs. So it's like basically just imagine like Gotham City with robots is what. But in Chicago is. Yeah, so kind of like what Chicago is now, just with robots.
Do you think like any other cities gone wrong would be kind of cool to see in Cyberpunk?
I think it would. It's just it's hard to do because Cyberpunk is already so big.
It seems like it's endless. There's so much shit to go through.
Yeah, just with Night City, and I forget the name of the desert town, but just with those two towns, it's already so big. So just imagining adding a whole nother like large city just like Chicago, I just think it's gonna be too much if they try to incorporate another city. I think that's why games like Grand Theft Auto tend to do like one big city and that's it. It's like maybe you get like a little bit of outskirtness, but like even that was just a thing in Grand Theft Auto 5, and that's just because LA is so huge and the outskirts of LA are such a big part of LA as a whole.
See, I didn't spend much time in Night City outside of being on Jig Street the whole time, having sex with dudes. I knew you were gonna like that. All right, so the next one, dude. So the Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford is facing a lot of backlash after saying that real fans, I say this in quote, would pay $80 for Borderlands 4 if that's what it costs. Now, this comes after a fan replied to one of his posts on X saying, Borderlands better not be $80, to which he replied, this is exactly what he said. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. One of the funniest replies to this were, dude, you must be so out of touch with today's economy. It's over 4 times more difficult for a single person to make a living with the current cost of living. I'm not even sure like how much I'd be willing to pay for Borderlands 4. I think that this game too, I think they need to make it accessible to as many people as possible, because I think it's going to be really super important to the studio for it to be successful, especially like after how poorly the Borderlands movie did. I just don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of hype around the franchise. So what's your take on this, this higher up just being so out of touch with what it's like in today's economy?
Yeah, that's I think this is going to do the Borderlands franchise a bigger disservice than what people kind of think. I think the people that were already kind of on the fence of whether or not they wanted to purchase the game and support the game, especially like after you said the fiasco that the Borderlands movie was, I think now you're just completely pushing those people out. I don't think anyone is going to want to buy the game that was kind of like, oh, I might buy it. And even some of the big, like, longtime supporters of the Borderlands series, I kind of have a feeling that they might just
pass on.
They might be having second thoughts, yeah. Because again, it's like Borderlands as a whole, as a franchise has never really given you like the completed game at launch. Like there's always tons and tons of DLC that comes after the fact. So it's like you're telling me I'm going to pay $80 for a game, and then on top of that there's probably going to be another like 10-15 DLC packets that I'm going to have to pay for.
Yeah, they're going to cost who knows how much.
Yeah, it just kind of makes you think, and it's like obviously, like we're in a landscape now where I just think gaming is going to get more and more expensive. I think $80 is probably going to be your bottom of the line. Like this is the bare minimum that you're going to have to pay for a AAA game. But we're also seeing these smaller developers that are coming in and releasing games for $50-$60 that are just like completely outperforming these
Expedition 33. I'm gonna say it again.
Yeah. that's being a perfect example. It was $50 for the game, and I definitely think it's probably gonna outsell. Like I think if it wasn't on Game Pass, it probably would have sold like 10-15 million copies. It probably boosted the sales of Game Pass alone just from that one game, which is crazy. But it's like you have all these bigger companies. Like think of like a recent game that we just purchased, Assassin's Creed Shadows. The bare minimum, the basic level copy of that game was $70. Like you had to pay $70 to play that game. And it's like after playing it, are you kind of thinking to yourself,
wasn't even worth it? No,
it's like,
I'll be honest with you. No.
It's like I don't know if it was. Yeah, because it's. I mean, I got relatively far into it, but it's like, was it $70 worth of enjoyment for me? It's like probably not. I think it was maybe like $50.
I was gonna say it seemed like $49.99. Like I feel like that's the price it should have been. I feel like I got that much value out of the game.
Yeah, it definitely like one of those games where it's like if I had bought it on sale and paid like $30 for it, $20, it's like I would have loved it. But $70.
No, when you spent like almost $80 after taxes, you're like, man, what a fucking waste of. I could have bought some better.
Yeah, and again, like I completely understand that like games have always been expensive. Like for the longest time, games were $50-$60 for 10-15 years. And again, with inflation, games should be around $120. But I think a big thing that has changed within gaming is just the fact that we're not getting complete games right off the bat.
No, I agree. And you know what? It's funny. I'm trying to figure out how to word this that doesn't sound like I'm glad that games are this expensive in the sense that people are now more willing to not, you know, they're speaking with their wallets now. You know, back, you know, a $40 game, you know, 10 years ago, you know, $40 is like, I fucking, you know, it's $40. But now, you know, like I said, it's like $80. And especially with the way economy is, people are more willing to be like, you know what? I understand I'm a fan of the franchise, but if this game isn't good, I'm just not going to buy it. So I think it really like, you know, if you're going to be charging that much, you have to be giving that much content, you know, worth for that price point.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so before we get into our last topic here, I know we didn't have a whole lot of news this week, but don't forget to stay connected with us on all our socials at the BS Show GG. And if you're enjoying this episode so far, please be sure to share the podcast and leave a comment. So this one's kind of big here, dude. EA shut down Cliffhanger Games, who was the studio who is developing the new Black Panther game, meaning now that game is officially canceled. It was supposed to be an open-world, third-person, single-player action-adventure game. God, that was a tongue twister. I'd argue that Black Panther is one of Marvel's most popular characters, too, so I'm not sure what other characters they're going to make a game based upon, you know, since really I think we can agree on this. Marvel's, you know, really only big successful game was probably Spider-Man. You know, can you really think of another character that would be as popular as him that they could, you know, you think that would even be successful?
I mean, you have like Iron Man, Spider-Man, but I mean the Spider-Man games have done very well.
Spider-Man's huge.
Yeah, but those games are also like really good games.
Yeah, so, I mean, did you wish though Black Panther would have, like, do you think they would have, somebody else would have just picked up the game, or was it even anything that was like interesting to you at all?
For me specifically, I was never like a huge fan of the movies, and again, like I'm not like the biggest comic book guy, so I don't know too much about the character itself outside of the movies. So I was never super interested in this.
I think it's just weird, like how many studios are like being shut down right now. Like this is just like they're a drop in the hat of the amount of big studios that have been shut down over the past year or two.
So this one was kind of a victim of the whole, I guess, war against wokeness that's kind of going on recently. I don't know if you remember seeing back in the day, it was making its rounds. Someone that worked for the company that was developing this game, she basically said that she only hires people of color because she's like, I want the environment to feel safe, and it's like I think people do their best type of work when they don't have to feel any kind of animosity or potential that there might be some sort of racism, and it's like
what
white people. She was basically just saying it's like white people, whether they mean to or not, like they're just filled with like microaggressions and all this other stuff. And again, it's like just hearing that kind of nonsense getting spewed out from like someone that's working for the company that's developing the game. It's like, do you really want that to kind of be?
Yeah, you're like, fuck that. I'm not supporting that company now.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, again, like I think these big developers are starting to realize that it's like IP cannot carry you into having great sales. I mean, you saw it with Suicide Squad, you saw it with the Avengers games. Like those games completely flopped. And then you had Dragon's Age, which again, like a huge IP. Like Dragon's Age was one of the more popular IPs in all of gaming in the past like 20-30 years, and it just completely flopped. So it's like I just think these especially a company like EA that already has like these big franchises that it can kind of just fall back on with like NBA and FIFA and whatever other sports games they have, plus Madden, and now they have the college football game, stuff like that. So it's like they have all these games that they can kind of fall back on. So
they're
it's
not
like,
too worried about Black Panther.
Yeah, it's like, why would they potentially risk like dumping all this money into these games when it just might not really do anything for them, when they could easily just refocus that attention into the franchises that are already making the money.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I 100% agree with that. You definitely don't want. I mean, much backlash, because it's like if they put that game out too and it was like super woke, people might be like, okay, we're not going to support any of your games now. So it might hinder all their games in the future too with that.
And it's already a game that's kind of like before it's even out, like just because of the character itself. Like, I don't know if you remember when the movie came out, there was like people that were saying like, if you're a white person and you're going to watch this show, it's like you should give your ticket up to a black person, because it's like this is a movie for them. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So it's like I feel like this is already going to be some sort of provide some sort of divisiveness that you just don't want to see with gaming. Again, like I think gaming is all inclusive, and it's like I don't necessarily think you should create something just because you want to create something for a specific demographic and then segregate everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I think wokeness has no place in the gaming community. Even though I will admit, Baldur's Gate 3 did have some wokeness to it, but they weren't shoving it down your throat. And I think that's all that really matters. I mean, right?
Well, it's like I don't think it's the thing that bothers me. It's like, yeah, like you said, when it just gets kind of shoved down your throat, and they just create this whole narrative around that specific aspect of the character's personality. Like I think a perfect example of like the kind of stuff that I don't like is like when a game, Dragon's Age: The Veiled Guard was like the perfect part. Like when they misgender a person, it's like I go by they them, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do some push-ups because I misgendered you. Like what? Like that should not be in the game, like whatsoever. Like who cares if they misgendered them in the game? It's like you should have, if they go by they them pronouns or whatever, like who cares? But like instead of having a section where that person gets misgendered and now all of a sudden you're making it a big deal, just have them. Just have them right off the bat. Just be like, oh, they them, instead of
addressing as that instead of making like it's a whole separate little section all about that.
Yeah. I think people would have probably cringed, but it's like it definitely would have been like less hated if it was just like if it was just a part of it versus like oh no, now we're gonna make it a big deal. It's like, oh, we were misgendered and all this other stuff, and we're gonna do some push-ups. We're gonna show that we care. It's like, who gives a crap?
I can't remember. Sweet Baby Inc. Were they the writers of that game too, or they worked with them on it?
I think like any game that you can kind of think of that's like woke, like
Sweet Baby Inc. touched it.
Yeah, 100%. Like the Black Panther game, that girl that said the stuff about like only hiring black
Sweet
people.
Baby Inc.
She worked for Sweet Baby Inc. So it's like, it's just so gross. And I was gonna send you something. I was watching some video on a new company that's kind of like forcing like DEI on a bunch of other stuff, and I'll have to see if I can find it. Maybe we could talk about it. But because when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, like there's no way that there's more companies that are trying to do this, because you're already seeing like big companies like, again, that are outside of video game that are just like, oh, DEI, like no one really cares about this anymore. It's like, we're just gonna stop putting money into this.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I wish Sweet Baby Inc. would get shut down. I'll be completely honest with you. I think they got no place in games. No place touching any of these games, dude. They're just ruining everything.
The thing is you're gonna have people that feel like if they put money, I think it's happening less and less, but I think you're still gonna have developers and companies that feel like, oh, if I put money into this, this demographic is going to support our game, and maybe we'll look better, especially amongst the journalists, because again, like.
Yeah, but nobody cares if there's like an LGBTQ character in the game. Nobody gives a fuck about that. It's just when they force it on you.
I think the journalists do. You have to remember that the journalists that are out there doing the writing for majority of these like reviews or like these big companies, you have to remember like they grew up in an era where video gaming was very, very unpopular. Like when we grew up, like gaming was not like as popular as it is now. Like it's like you almost got kind of seen like as an outcast if you spent a lot of your time playing video games. So all these people were like a lot of people that were kind of already recluses in their life, and maybe they did kind of steer over to being, whether it was like part of the LGBTQ or just being just weird in general, like it happens. But because it's like you grouped up all these people that kind of fell into this weird dynamic of life together, it's like now that's what they support. And because these are the people that do the reviews and do all this other stuff, like I think these big gaming companies
cater to them.
Yeah,
they're trying to cater to them.
I think that's more so what it is, more so what like this, why they're kind of pushing out this like DEI wokeness stuff like that. Like I was listening to a podcast. I'm not going to say the name of the podcast, but it's like one of the bigger like gaming news podcasts, and one of the guys was talking about how he was like upset that there's not enough like black or Latino like characters that people can play. And I was like, why does that matter? I was like, why does it matter that, like, why do we need a black or a Latino character that I can play with? Like, who gives a crap? I just want to play a game that's fun. Like,
yeah, but do you think that people really are like, oh, I want to play this game just because they do have a person of color, or whatever as a character?
I think weird people do. Like, I think people that just care too much about that crap. Like, as a Latino man, I do not give a crap if there's a Latino character that I can go out there and play with.
You don't wish Gustav in Expedition 33 or Versa was Latino?
No,
you don't want to play a little Latino boy?
Like I don't care. I don't care what the color of the skin, what the gender, what the sexuality.
You don't wish you threw a little Spanish in there, the French?
No. Like again, like I do not care about any of that stuff. I just want to play a good game. Like The Last of Us 2 had a female lesbian main character, and I played the game, and I did not care. And so it's not like I'm like a sexist fucking demon or whatever.
You're a sexist demon. You're a sexist Latino demon.
I just want to play a good game. That's it. So it's like the people I think that kind of make it a bigger deal, where it's like, again, like that podcast, when I listened to that, I was like, I can't listen to this podcast anymore. I was like,
this guy's a fucking goober.
Yeah. I was like, why do people care about this? It was like, just play a game that's fun. That's all you should care about. Like, you should not care about being represented in gaming. Like, who gives a crap?
I think that's a perfect note to wrap this episode up on, dude. So yeah. So that was like perfect. Some games. Oh, there's nothing worth mentioning right now as far as games coming out, but there are some really good games that are on sale on Steam right now. You got speaking of Last of Us. Last of Us is 50% off at $29.99. Killing Floor 2 is 90% off at $2.99, and Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered is 20% off at $39. And that's it for today's episode of the BS Show. If you enjoyed the unfiltered conversations, make sure to share this podcast and to follow us on all socials at the BS Show GG. Want us to review a game or to answer your questions? Drop your recommendations and questions in our comments. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be back next week with more straight talk. No BS.